sir, what is your true and correct name?
Matthew Michael DESAVIO.
And sir, do you have a copy of the criminal complaint that was filed against you?
Yes, I do, sir.
And sir, did you read it? You understand the charges?
Yes, I do.
So waive the reading of the charges. Counsel, I'm sorry, appearances to the record?
Kayla appears on this environmental 163 on behalf of the state.
All right. Sir, I do see you do qualify for the aid of the public defenders. I'm going to appoint the public defender representative in this matter.
Thank you.
He has not had a bail hearing per se. It is defaulted to a $60,000 bond on this matter. I don't know if you wish to address it at this point right now.
The state's prepared to address it.
That's statement.
So Your Honor, the facts of this case are terrifying, would probably be an understatement. Based on this defendant's criminal history, we have a history of stalking that goes back to at least 2015 with the same victim, alleged in the criminal complaint, Alicia Runyon. He has had multiple instances of battery constituting domestic violence, TPOs, violations of TPOs, all of which demonstrate either an inability or an unwillingness to follow any court.
Unwillingness.
All right, hold on, Mr. Sasaba. You have a right to speak in a minute.
Thank you.
In October of 2022, he was arrested for making terroristic threats. In that instance, it was a threat to drive his car onto the sidewalk in front of the Bellagio fountains. When questioned regarding that case, the officer said, "Aren't you aware that there are hundreds of thousands of people that are in front of the Bellagio fountains on any given time?" And asked if the defendant understood that people could be injured, and he said, quote, "That's why I wanted to do it." In that case, he was referred to the competency court. The competency court found him incompetent to stand trial, and in doing so noted that he is a safety risk not only to himself but to the community at large. He was referred to then be restored to competency based on a lack of availability of beds in both of our state competency hospitals. The competency court then dismissed this case, and he was released in April of this year, and now here we are again 2 months later.
I've been homeless ever since, so thank you.
All right, hold, Mr. DeSalvo, you're going to be able to have a response, but if you continue to have outbursts, I'm going to have you removed. You understand?
Sorry.
You'll get a chance to speak.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, say go ahead.
So, again, now here we are 2 months later with similar terroristic threats, as well as an escalating level of stalking and harassment and threat of violence to the victim in this case. Particularly in this case, the Facebook post was posted on, I believe, Thursday of last week, and it says, "Get ready for the Mandalay Bay Massacre Part 2 if the Golden Knights don't beat those Florida faggots and win the cup. Time to hashtag paint that stand gold tonight. Die, Taurus, die. I warned y'all October 1 was just a preview. Go Knights go. Don't puck with Vegas. Hashtag buy Lombardo. Hashtag also fuck Joe Runyon and his faggot family." Joe Runyon is the husband of the alleged victim, Alicia. Along with additional hashtags. And then about 40 minutes after that post, he made a reference again to Joe Runyon, stating, "Fuck this faggot, get you and your wife the fuck out of my city before tonight's Golden Knights game, and go the fuck back to Boise. Don't like it, hashtag call Metro. Oh wait, the Golden Badge is on my side in the city. Screw you and tell Alicia to never talk to me like that. I'm still that little boy that was madly in love with her. Hashtag by Dr. Alicia." These posts were made over of one day in the course of about 5 days, in which there was a serious escalation in the stalking of the victim, Alicia Runyon, at her place of work. And on Thursday afternoon, she was being interviewed by Metro detectives when the defendant made a phone call letting her know that he was on his way to her office and he was almost there. At that point, uniformed officers were dispatched, and about 10-15 minutes later, he comes bursting through her office door of a building that had already been locked down and was only allowed key fob access. He was stopped by officers and was removed, saying, I will slit your throat, and threatening again to kill both her husband, her son, and has been in custody ever since. I do have two detectives, Detective Wilson and Detective Lee, both with Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department's Counterterrorism Division. They are present and are actively involved in this case. And then I also do have a written statement from the victim that I would like to.
Is she present?
She's not present.
Do you have a copy for the supervisor of defense?
I can get her.
Marcy's law, she does have a right to have a hearing or to be present or at least present some information at a bail hearing.
So this was a statement that was written and sent to me by the victim. It reads, "My name is Alicia Runyon and I'm 34 years old. I met Matthew DESAVIO when I was 5 years old when we both attended St. Anne's Catholic School in Las Vegas. After St. Anne's, we attended Bishop Gorman High School together. Throughout school, I barely had contact with Matthew. I would not categorize us as friends, but as distant peers who were part of the same schooling community for 13 years of our lives. Matthew and I were never romantically involved. We might have exchanged minimal conversation if we had classes together, although I do not recall him in any classes, and we never hung out together outside of school. I did not give Matthew DeFabio much thought throughout the time I knew him. Once graduating from Bishop Gorman, I graduated from college, met my husband, and moved around to various states, beginning my young adult life. Around the time I was 25, I received a friend request on Facebook from the defendant. I assumed that it was just a high school alum who wanted to connect. I accepted the friend request. He began messaging me daily and tagging me in multiple posts. The messaging and tagging were becoming excessive and bizarre. Two other classmates of ours messaged me to let me know that Matthew was going through something and that it would be best if I blocked him. I did so thinking the entire interaction was bizarre and continued living on with my life. At age 26, I was living in Boise, Idaho and working as a psychosocial rehabilitation worker and a part-time realtor on the side. I utilized my cell phone daily for my two employment positions. I began receiving emails and phone calls from Matthew requesting to see properties and stating he wanted to open a business with a psychologist in town named Alicia Perry. Alicia Perry is my maiden name. He began referring to me as if I were two different people, Alicia Runyon the realtor and Alicia Perry the psychologist and his lover. He would call my phone so excessively that it would die within a couple of hours. He made it impossible for me to conduct my employment as a psychosocial rehabilitation worker and a realtor. His calls and texts began to turn from scary and delusional to scary, delusional, and extremely violent. He told me he was going to kill my husband. He said he was going to rape me and kill me as a sex slave. He began writing about me daily on his Facebook, causing me extreme public humiliation. I had classmates and friends reaching out to me confused as to what our connection was and why he was harassing me. I had to simply explain that I had no idea and I was extremely terrified and confused. I quit my job as a realtor because I could no longer advertise listings or market myself and post my location. The messages and calls again continued to increase in their violent nature. He told me that I better have the police surrounding my house because he was coming to Boise and was going to shoot up my home. He called me a bitch, a slut, and a whore. Throughout this entire time, I never answered one of his calls, nor did I respond to his emails and texts. I contacted a classmate and obtained the defendant's mother's phone number. I called his mother, and she would not speak to me, but his younger sister did. His younger sister told me that for the past year, Matthew has told him that he spoke with me daily and that we were best friends. I told her that this was not the case and that I did not know Matthew. We never spoke and we were never friends. From there, he called me, leaving a voicemail during the night. In the background, his sister was screaming and crying. She was screaming to her mother that Matthew was hurting her and to please call Metro. Eventually, the phone cuts out. I woke up in the morning to listen to this message and was terrified for his sister and his mother's lives and wondered if they had been killed. I called 911 to report the message and the incident, and an officer later told me that he was arrested for the incident and was currently in a psychiatric hospital. Next, a social worker from that hospital called me in an attempt to contact me about Matthew's case. Once I notified the hospital that he was stalking and harassing me, they refused to give me any more information. Matthew called me from the psychiatric unit during phone hours, threatening me and saying he was going to kill me. He said all of the workers at the hospital loved him and let him do what he wanted. I called back to speak to the charge nurse, who refused to give me any information. He stated that as the victim, I'm entitled to this, and again, no assistance was given. Then I began to receive calls from random people at halfway houses and sober living homes, saying they were friends with Matthew. Matthew would also speak on the voicemails that were left. I contacted the Boise police, who stated that they would send a report to Las Vegas. I then received a call from Las Vegas police, who was arresting Matthew for bizarre behavior again, and Matthew was stating that I was his girlfriend and begging them to call me. I notified the officer that he is stalking and harassing me, and that I have a report that was sent to Las Vegas from Boise. He apologized and stated he would add this to the report and make sure that those two incidents were connected. At that point, I changed my phone number and made my social media accounts private. At age 27 in 2017, I gave birth to my son. He was a couple weeks old when we decided to move back to Las Vegas to be closer to my mother. My husband was offered a new job position, and I was accepted to attend UNLV for a master's program. Within days before the move, Matthew started stalking and harassing me again online. He started posting pictures of me from when I was in high school and college. I was terrified. We had everything set in Las Vegas: a house, job, school, family, and childcare. Yet we contemplated canceling it all. This was a huge stress on our lives. We now had a child, and we were in fear of what Matthew was going to do. Ultimately, we determined to continue with the move and eventually settled into our home. Matthew's stalking and harassment only increased after that. I ended up changing my phone number again, and this time contacted Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to have my profiles not only deactivated, but completely erased from the internet. Matthew began threatening to kill my husband and stated he was going to wait outside of his work to shoot him. Matthew posted a picture of me with a baby, which was a picture of me when I was at the age of 14 or 15 holding a baby cousin, and stated that it was a picture of me with my son. He stated under the picture that he was going to fucking kill that bastard baby. My son was only 2 months old at the time. I went to police and filed a report. I called the police daily, and I was offered no assistance. I called police hysterically crying and asking them to do a wellness check on Matthew, told them that he was threatening to kill my husband and my infant, and the advice they told me was drive a different way home. I had to call for weeks to get a detective assigned to me, and that detective finally filed for stalking and harassment charges. I could not attend my 10-year high school reunion because Matthew was aware of the reunion, and I thought Matthew was going to kill me or my husband if we attended. I stopped connecting with all of my peers, and I removed myself from social media. I stopped talking to people because I did not want him to find out any information about me or my whereabouts. I was cautious of my surroundings. I asked that no pictures of myself or my family be put online. There were no updates from the police, and when I called, I never got any clear direction on what was being done. Matthew continued to stalk and harass me. He then made a posting that he was going to assassinate the president, who happened to be visiting Las Vegas, and that was when he was again arrested. I was a young mother who was extremely vulnerable. I had to remove myself from my community. Nobody cared about my rights. No one helped protect my family. The only answer I received was drive a different way home. I was beyond angry, hurt, terrified, and so utterly disappointed in the system. At age 32, at the end of 2021, I was contacted by the district attorney's office stating that they were pursuing the stalking and harassment charges from 2017. I was so relieved and at the same time scared. I hadn't heard from Matthew in a couple of years, and I did not want to reignite his violent rhetoric. The DA proceeded with the case, and the judge stated that Matthew was not to contact myself or my husband ever again. Ultimately, the charges were reduced to disorderly conduct following 1 year of probation. Sometime at the end of 2022, Matthew posted online a bizarre message stating, "Tag Alicia Carey if you want me to go to big boy prison forever." I contacted the district attorney's office and was informed that this was not enough and did not constitute a violation of the no contact order. Following this message, he began posting terrorist threats that he was going to kill people on the strip. I was terrified. If he was stating that he was going to kill people who he does not know on the strip, then what is stopping him from doing the same to my family? Again, I felt no one was listening to me. Fortunately, Matthew was arrested for those threats, violating his probation. I thought he was going to go to jail for at least 6 months. And I was praying that he would go to jail for much longer due to the terrorism charge. How unfortunate it was for me and my family to learn that the justice system had completely failed us once again when he was released on a technicality. At age 34 in May of 2023, Matthew began calling my business phone. I now have a established family. I'm practicing mental health therapy. I've started my private practice, and I'm almost 6 months pregnant. Dread completely filled my body when I was checking my messages on Monday morning, May 15th, to find that Matthew had left 4 voicemails, all from different people who he had called on my phone. The voicemails were bizarre and erratic. I called the district attorney's office and was told that the prior case had been closed and that I needed to make another report. I was transferred to a victim's advocate who instructed me to file a police report with Metro. I attempted to go to the station to file a report and was met with judgment and humiliation. The man at the window was interrogating me, saying, "So what?" He called a couple of times. "That's it? No, this is not enough. What do you want us to do with this?" He then told me to have a seat and he would see what they could even do. After waiting an hour and a half, I left. I called the victim's advocate again. He apologized and encouraged me to go back to ask to speak with the supervisor. I'm utterly dejected at this point. I have no faith that anyone is going to help me. I'm 6 months pregnant. I am mild-tempered and mannered. I do not want to have to cause a scene for someone to take me seriously. I own a private practice and I had to cancel my clients to sit at the police station that morning, and I cannot afford to continue to cancel people with the hopes of the possibility of getting a report filed. On May 27th, Matthew called my business phone again. He left another erratic message claiming he missed his best friend, alluding to myself being his best friend. I did not call back, engage, or respond to him, and I was praying he would go away. Then on June 7th of 2023, as I was returning from lunch, I walked into my office building and I see Matthew DESAVIO sitting on the couch in my lobby. The blood drains from my body as I quickly walk as fast as I can, to my office and lock my door. I called the property manager, who was at that time sitting at the front desk. I told him that Matthew had been stalking me for years and asked him if he was asking for me, to which the property manager said yes. I told him I was calling the police. During this time, Matthew is asking the property manager where my office is located, telling him he cannot find me in the directory. He's telling the property manager that he wants to leave me a note. I called the police and they stated that Metro was on the way. I called my husband, who was also on his way. My best friend, who I was on the phone with as I was walking into the building, also left her job to rush over and make sure I was okay. I had to cancel 4 clients because I did not want to put my clients in a dangerous situation. Now my husband is leaving work early, my friend is leaving work, and I'm ending my day at 12 p.m. also missing out on a financial gain as a private business owner. I am terrified not only for myself but for everyone in the building because I had no idea what Matthew was capable of. He has exhibited erratic and violent behavior. The property manager called me and told me Matthew was writing a note for me and was leaving it at the front. The property manager's infant son was in the car with his mother outside. He was not planning on staying at the office that late, but was trying to stay to make sure that I was okay before police arrived, but ultimately had to leave. Metro Police responded very quickly and they were able to detain Matthew and arrest him. I thought he was arrested and I would be safe for some time. The next morning on June 8th, I arrived at my office at 7:50 a.m. My client is on telehealth and the session is conducted online. I locked my office door. Around an hour later, Matthew enters the building, walks straight to my office, leaves a 4-page note under my sound machine that is located outside my office door. I called the police and was transferred to a non-emergency line where I waited an hour and a half for someone to answer, and I again had to cancel 2 of my appointments. At this point, Matthew continues to interfere not only with my personal life but with my business. I am terrified and in fear, as this is a major escalation in behavioral patterns. Prior to this, Matthew has stalked and harassed me online through social media platforms, the phone and email, but now he is coming to my business and getting comfortable being around me in person. He was just arrested the day before and told not to come back, and he is within 12 hours is back in front of my office. At around 2 p.m., Matthew returns to my office. Again, I'm in a telehealth session and I continue to keep my door locked. I have a sound machine just outside my door and inside my door to block out any additional noise. So I did not hear him coming. However, he taped a drawing of himself with a message, "Coming soon, Sin City, HQX Desert Peace Therapy with Dr. Alicia Runyon and Matt DESAVIO," and then said his name again. The drawing had the following stapled brochures: Peking Counselor, Metro Police, a Clark County Library, and on the hallway directly in front of my door. Next to my door, where the sound machine was located, he left a brown bag with contents including upcycled pill bottle, twine, button, lid, foam brush, and a pink plush dice. I was unable to contact the police at that time. I had a 2 p.m. session, and I quickly took down the picture and continued with that session. At this point, I am terrified. I know that the behavior pattern has escalated and will only continue to escalate. I am completely vulnerable. I have to conduct business as normal and attempt to give my clients full attention while being terrified that this dangerous person is going to come back and kill me or harm my clients. At the end of the business day, the property manager sent an email to all of the building tenants stating that he was a dangerous man and did not let him enter the building. The tenants were instructed to call the police or the property manager if they saw him. The next morning on June 9th, around 9 a.m., Matthew returns to the building. I was not at the office at this time. From security footage, it does not appear that he was able to enter the building. The property manager called the police and they were said to have come out. At this point, my husband and I decided to hire an attorney who has assisted us in filing for a TPO. I had to cancel 5 clients this week. We had to install a security system in our home, which costs several hundreds of dollars. There is a disruption to all of the business owners at the plaza in which my office is located, and I am experiencing extreme emotional distress and fear for my life. Finally, on Tuesday, June 13th, I received a call from Matthew on my business phone. For the past 9 years, Matthew has never spoken to me directly. I have not answered his calls, and I do not answer calls that I don't recognize the number to avoid having to speak to him. Due to operating a private practice, I have to frequently answer calls because that's how I schedule my clients. Right after I answered, Matthew stated, "I don't want you to be alarmed and you are safe. I want you to look at your old friend Matt DESAVIO's Facebook page. He's making a lot of threats. Golden Knights are going to win blue." I stated, "Matthew, you need to stop calling me. Please leave me alone. I'm asking you to leave me alone." And he stated, "You are never going to see me again." Later that day, I had a friend send me screenshots from Matthew's Facebook where he made threats to myself and a public 1 October style massacre. Matthew called myself and my husband explicit names, posted my business website, picture, or address on Facebook with the hashtag #FuckDrAlicia at Desert Threat Therapy, posted my husband's picture and his LinkedIn profile page, and threatened to harm us. Following this, I called the police immediately because I was in fear for my life and in fear that he may try to kill hundreds of innocent people. I now realize that me confronting him that on the phone, I turned his behavior into a bad mood. He was much more dangerous than I ever imagined. Around noon, police officers arrived in my office and I showed them the post, gave them my statement. During this time, the owner of the building contacted the property manager to lock the building down, and all tenants were given an article about Matthew written by Channel 8 News in October of 2022, where he threatened to kill tourists on the Strip. Tenants were also made aware that he was stalking a new tenant in the building, was a dangerous person, and for this reason, the building would be locked 24/7 until further notice requiring a badge to access the building. This caused me significant humiliation and distress. The building is normally open access to the public and there are many privately owned companies here. The building is now locked down and the only way into the building is a key fob given to tenants. This is a major inconvenience for all of the tenants here. One of them was enraged and calling for me to be kicked out of the building. They claimed that it was not fair, that they should be in danger, experience inconvenience to their business, and now have to endure a dangerous person, all from one individual. I sat in my office devastated. I listened to everyone outside of my room discussing what they described as the turmoil I had brought into the building. At around 12:45, Detective Kelly called and asked if he could take my statement. He arrived and started the recording. While I was giving my statement, I received a call on my business phone. The caller was Matthew. Detective Kelly answered, and he did not say anything. I then said, "Hello, Matthew," and Matthew began screaming that I ruined his life. He called me many explicit names. He said he was going to kill my husband, slit my throat, and that he was on my way to my office to harm me. The detective was in the room and contacted uniformed officers. Police arrived shortly after. 2 officers, Detective Kelly and myself, were in my office when Matthew got into the building, which was locked, and patrol units were stationed outside. Matthew charged down the hallway, burst into my room with what I observed was an intention to kill me. The officers quickly grabbed him. Matthew was screaming in the hallway, "Fuck that bitch, I'm going to kill that bitch." If the officers were not in that room, I know Matthew would have attempted to murder me. I'm defenseless, I'm a woman, 6 months pregnant, and terrified for my life, my husband's life, my children's life, and my unborn child's life. Matthew at this point has nothing to lose. He is homeless and has no family who are willing to help him. He was living around my building, which I believe was intentional to be close to me. Matthew will stop at nothing until he kills me. He does not care about being arrested, going to prison, or what law enforcement has to say. He does not want to receive treatment to assist with his mental illness. He wants to control and possess me, and if he can't, he will kill me and hurt everyone I love in the process.
I don't want her back.
Throughout the past decade, I have done nothing to encourage Matthew's behavior. I do not know him. The only connection we share is the unfortunate fate that my family enrolled me in the same academic school as him. I'm an upstanding member of society. I've never gotten into any trouble with the law. I received both of my degrees from UNLV, focused in psychology and social work so that I could help people, which is my passion in life. I'm a mental health clinical therapist, and I primarily see victims with trauma. I often receive referrals for children who have been sexually abused, work closely with the Department of Family Services and victims advocates, and those who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. I recognize the value in the justice system, and I understand everybody deserves rights and access to a fair trial, yet I wonder where my rights have been. I have hurt no one. I do not threaten, intimidate, or scare people. I do not steal from society or threaten mass murder. Yet this perpetrator, this dangerous and violent man, this disgustingly maniacal being has more rights and luxury than I do. He is able to go around and create fear and chaos, say and do as he pleases, and really, up until this point, has had no repercussions. This only reinforces his violent behavior and encourages the severity of his acts each time. We have seen a significant escalation in his behavioral pattern over the years that will only increase. His comfortability with predatory behavior has only been strengthened as he has been able to exercise and practice skills of intimidation and violence. I am in fear all the time. I am so afraid of the next time he is released from jail. I am pleading with the court to protect the victims, protect myself, my innocent children, my unborn child, and my family. None of us have asked for this. None of us deserve this. We've experienced so much stress and pain and fear throughout the past decade. We deserve to have peace of mind that the justice system works. We deserve justice. Society deserves justice. Matthew DeSavio is a threat to the public, and if he is released, I have no doubt that he will seriously harm or murder someone. I just hope the court does not allow that someone to be me.
All right. Ms. Lucas.
And Your Honor, after hearing the allegations and talking to Mr. DeSavio, at this time I'm going to be referring to the competency.
All right, the court is going to order a no contact Mr. DeSavio, Ms. Alicia Runyon and Joe Runyon. Hold on one second. The court will note after hearing this and reviewing these facts on this matter, while he's entitled or may be entitled to a bail hearing on this matter, the court's ruling on this, because no bail is appropriate at this time, giving these charges.
No, fuck you!
Yes, sir.
Take me out, take me out.
Bail, send us a copy to the court. Next return court date shall be
July 12th, 8:30 a.m., District Court 32.